The Oldsmobile 442 was a muscle car produced by the Oldsmobile division of General Motors. It was introduced as an option package for F-85 and Cutlass models sold in the United States beginning with the 1964 model year. The 442 appellation comes from the configuration of the car, a 4-barrel carburetor, a 4-speed manual transmission, and dual exhaust. It became a model in its own right from 1968 to 1971, then reverted to an option through the mid-1970s. Oldsmobile revived the name in the 1980s on the rear-wheel drive Cutlass Supreme and early 1990s as an option package for the new front-wheel drive Cutlass Calais. History: 1964, the 442 was born out of the competition between Pontiac division and Oldsmobile. It began as a hasty response to the Pontiac Tempest GTO, which had proved to be an unexpected success midway through the 1964 model year. It was created by performance enthusiast and Oldsmobile engineer John Belts, aided by Dale Smith and Olds chief engineer Bob Dorshimer. Because of its late introduction and the ambiguous nature of the GTO Euro, which was technically a violation of GM policy limiting intermediate models to 330 CID Euro, the Olds offering was a conservative package. Technically the B09 police apprehender pursuit option, it used the 4-barrel carbureted 330 CID V8 with heavy-duty valve gear, and a hotter camshaft, raising rated output to 310 HP at 5200 rpm. Torque remained 355 lb-ft, although the torque peak rose from 2800 rpm to 3600 rpm. The package also included a stiffened frame, adjustable pinion angle by way of added holes in the frame mounts for the rear upper control arms, Muncie 4-speed manual transmission, a heavy-duty drive shaft connected to a 3.361 rear gear, oversized brakes, 155.6 versus 118 SQ in lining area, and the heavy-duty police package suspension, with heavy-duty wheels, higher rate coil springs front and rear, heavy-duty shock absorbers, a larger front anti-roll bar, an additional rear anti-roll bar bolted to a fully boxed lower control arm, and dual snorkel air cleaner. 2-speed windshield wipers, AC, an AM/FM radio, an electronic trunk opener, and a tilt steering wheel were optional. Unlike the 1965 442 model built in Lansing, the 1964 442 does not have an option code on the data plate. There is documentation available showing that the 1964 442 was built in both Lansing and Fremont. The package was dubbed 4-4-2 based on its combination of 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual transmission, and 2 exhausts. Priced at $285.14, it was available on any F-85 or Cutlass model except the station wagon, although most were Cutlass hardtop Cooper copyright S. Motor Trend tested an early 4-4-2 and found that the 3,440-pound car would run 0–60 mph in 7.5 seconds, the standing quarter-mile in 15.5 seconds at 90 mph, and reached a top speed of 116 mph. A total of 2,999 were sold. 1965, with the GTO receiving GM corporate sanction, Oldsmobile followed suit with a big-engine 442. The B09 option was renamed 442 and the price was lowered to $190.45 for F-85 Club Coupes and $156.02 for Cutlasses. The new 400 CID engine became standard, and the definition of 442 was restated as 400 cubic inches, 4-barrel carburetor, 2 exhausts. Output for the big engine rose to 345 HP and 440 lb-ft. The standard transmission became a 3-speed manual with the 4-speed as an option, and Oldsmobile's 2-speed Jetaway automatic transmission was added as an alternative. The 65 was the first 442 to use a Hurst shifter, which was included when the HD 3-speed manual transmission was ordered. The heavy-duty 3-speed was a mid-year introduction and used a floor shifter, unlike the early 3-speed that used a column shifter. Other touches added to the 65 were chrome body side scoops adorned with 442 badging, chamber dual exhaust pipes, chrome single-snout air cleaner, and 442 badging on the dash. Late in the year option N98 was added, which were chrome 14A, A6 in wheels. It also offered standard bucket seats when optioned on the Cutlass and a 6,000 RPMs tachometer, mounted in the console, more as decoration than for usefulness. The console was optional, which made the tach optional. Retractable front seat belts were optional. The turning radius was 41 feet. Modern rod tested a 1965 F-85 442 with a 4-speed manual, slicks, and headers and obtained a quarter-mile acceleration of 13.78 seconds at 102.73 mph. Car Life's automatic 65 ran the quarter-mile in 15.5 seconds at 89 mph, with a 0 to 60 time of 7.8 seconds. Offered in 4 body styles, sales rose to 25,003, including 3,468 convertibles. Car and Driver tested a 1965 442 and did 0 to 60 mph in 5.5 seconds. 1966, the 1966 442 shared a modest facelift with other Cutlasses. Its major news was the addition of 2 new optional engines, the L69, with 3 2-barrel Rochester 2GC carburetors on a progressive linkage, rated at 360 HP in 440 lb-ft of torque, which was priced at $264.54, and the rare W30. The standard engine, now dubbed L78, was rated at 350 HP/440 lb-ft with a single 4-barrel carburetor. The W30 engine added an outside air induction system and a hotter cam, rated a Euro, or, more likely, underrated a Euro the same as the L69. The battery was relocated to the trunk to make room for the air hoses, which prevented the package from being ordered on convertible models. Only 54 W30s were built by the factory, although an additional 97 were produced for dealer installation. Hurst shifters were now standard equipment with floor-mounted manual transmissions including the optional heavy-duty 3-speed, M20 wide ratio 4-speed or M21 close ratio 4-speed. The standard transmission was a 3-speed manual with column shift and the 2-speed Jetaway automatic with switch pitch torque converter was optional. The standard 350 horsepower 400 engine could be ordered with any of the 4 transmissions, while only manual transmissions could be ordered with the L69 3-2-barrel option. Inside, a revised instrument panel featured 2 round pods for the speedometer and other instruments, replacing the horizontal sweep speedometer of 1964 Euro 65 models, but the rest of the basic dashboard design was unchanged. F-85 models had base interiors with bench seats and rubber floor mats while the more lavish Cutlass versions came with full carpeting and featured strato bucket seats of a new design with higher and thinner seat backs, or a no-cost bench seat option. Headrests were a $52 option. Car Life tested an L69 442 with 4-speed transmission and obtained a 0 to 60 time of 6.3 seconds and a quarter-mile of 14.8 seconds at 97 mph. Motor Trend's similar test car ran 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds, with a quarter-mile time of 15.2 seconds at 96.6 mph. Production slumped to 21,997. The 442 still constituted only about 10% of Cutlass sales, whereas Pontiac's GTO represented nearly a third of all Tempests sold. 1967 For 1967 the 442 styling and base engine remained the same, save for an increase in intake valve size to 2.067 from 1.99. But the automatic 3-speed turbo-hydromatic with switch pitch became available, replacing the 2-speed switch pitch Jetaway, as was the case with the mid-sized muscle cars from other GM divisions. The heavy-duty floor-mounted 3-speed manual transmission was now standard with the Muncie M20 and M21 4-speeds optional, all with Hurst shifters. Front disc brakes were a new option this year. A Graham policy decision banning multiple carburetors for all vehicles except the Corvette saw the demise of the L69 with its triple carburetors. The W30 remained available, although the 4-barrel quadrajet carburetor replaced the tri-carb setup. New red plastic inner fender liners became part of the W30 package. 502 factory W30 engines were built to meet NHRA homologation rules, along with an unknown number of dealer-installed packages. 4-way emergency flashes became standard as it did on all new GM models for 1967. Cars tested a W30 442 with close ratio 4-speed and 4.33 rear axle, obtaining a quarter mile of 14.1 seconds at 103 mph in completely stock form. 0–60 times were between 6.5 and 6.7 seconds. Unlike in previous years, which the 4-4-2 option could be ordered on either baseline F-85 or upscale Cutlass models, the 1967 4-4-2 package was based on the top-line Cutlass Supreme series, including the Sport Coupe, Holiday Hardtop Coupe and convertible. Standard equipment on all models included Strato bucket seats or no-cost notchback bench seat, full carpeting, expanded Moritz sheen vinyl upholstery, heavy-duty suspension with rear sway bar, and wide oval tires. Power front disc brakes were $104, while power steering was $94. Like all cars sold in the U.S. for 1967, the 4-4-2 came standard with a group of occupant protection and accident avoidance features as mandated by federal law. This safety package included an energy-absorbing steering column and safety steering wheel, padded dash, recessed controls, 4-way hazard flashes and a dual-circuit brake hydraulic master cylinder. Production rallied somewhat from the previous year, rising to 24,833. 1968. The 442 became a separate model from 1968 through 1971. The wheelbase was 112 in, and over 33,000 was sold for 1968. Despite the engine displacement staying at 400 as CID, the engine was based on the new 455 crank train and the bore decreased. Torque now came at 3,000 euro 3,200 rpm as opposed to the early 400s 3,600 rpm peak, mostly due to a milder base cam grind. Car Life tested a 1968 442 with a 3.421 rear axle ratio and high dramatic and attained 0–60 times of 7.0 seconds, and a quarter-mile time of 15.13 seconds at 92 mph. Top speed was reported as 115 mph. The base motor was still rated at 350 HP, but only with the standard 3-speed and optional 4-speed. Automatics were rated at 325 HP. W30s were rated again at 360 HP. Car Life also tested a 4-speed W30 with 4.33 rear-end gears and recorded a 13.3 at 103.30 mph, which shows the long stroke did not affect actual performance, although long-term durability at high engine speeds might be affected. All standard 1968 442 engines are painted a bronzy Euro copper color, as with the 1967s, topped with a fire red air cleaner. W30 option cars were equipped with ram air intake hoses leading from a chrome-top dual snorkel black air cleaner to special under-bumper air scoops and set off by bright red plastic fender wells. In addition, a turnpike cruiser option was made available with a 2-barrel carburetor. This was previously available on the Cutlass Supreme for 1967. 1968 was the first year for side marker lights and front outboard shoulder belts, and the last year for vent windows on hardtops and convertibles. 442s for 68 had unique rear bumpers, with exhaust cutouts and special exhaust tips. It was in 1968 that Oldsmobile first partnered with Hurst Performance Research Corporation to create the Hurst Olds rather than just adding Hurst shifters as with earlier models. The limited regular production run of 515 Hurst Olds started out as regular 442s, but were treated to numerous distinct enhancements, both cosmetic and mechanical. All cars were painted Peruvian silver with liberal black striping and white pinstripes, exterior and interior HO badging, and a real walnut wood dash insert. Mechanically, the cars left the factory with 2 drivetrain combinations. Red 455 CID engines were backed by modified W30 Turbo 400 automatic transmissions. A C cars got a W46 engine with a 3.081 rear, while non-AC cars got a W45 engine with a 3.911 rear. While both engines were rated at 390 HP, the W45 engine received the cylinder heads from the W30 and the camshaft from the W31, making it more suitable for higher RPMs. All cars came with bucket seats and a Hurst dual-gate shifter in a mini console. Also standard were numerous regular 442 options such as disc brakes, heavy-duty cooling, and FE2 suspension. They shared the red fender wells and ram air setup with the W30. Popular, but not standard, additional options included the tic-toc-tac and wood-grained steering wheel. Power front disc brakes were optional. Performance for the 1968 Hurst Olds, 0-60 in 5.4 seconds. 1/4 mile in 13.9 seconds at 103 mph. 1969 442s were very similar to the 1968 except the division tooth between the grilles, the trunk lid inlets for the tail lights, wing windows deleted on holiday coupes and convertibles, steering lock ignition switch on the steering column, standard headrests were added to the front seats, and the paint scheme. Twin hood stripes were now available to highlight the new dual-bulged hood. The 442 numerals grew to nearly double their previous size. Optional disc brakes now had updated single-piston calipers. The exhaust manifolds featured a new center divider for better performance. Other changes to the engine were minimal, but the Turnpike Cruiser option was deleted. However, another high-PO engine was offered. Called the W32, it came with a forced-air induction plumbing fan on the W30s, but it had a milder cam like the base engine. It was only available with an automatic, and 297 were built, including 25 sport coupes and convertibles each. The Hurst Olds returned, with a cameo white and fire frost gold striped paint scheme, outrageous functional ram air mailbox hood scoops, rear pedestal spoiler, 15 inches SSII chrome-plated rims, European racing mirrors, and a 380 horsepower 455 SID V8 that was detuned slightly from 1968. 906 production Hurst Olds holiday coupes were built, plus 6 prototypes and 2 convertibles for a total of 914 cars. Performance for the 1969 Hurst Olds, 380 HP, 0-60 in 5.9 seconds. 1/4 mile in 14.03 seconds at 101 mph. 1970 was the pinnacle of performance from Oldsmobile. In order to keep up in the horsepower arms race, General Motors dropped the cap on engine size in 1970, and Oldsmobile responded by making the Olds 455 V8 the standard 442 engine. Magazine ads using an offbeat mad scientist trumpeted Dr. Olds introduces as large a V8 as ever bolted into a special performance production automobile. Output was 365 HP in 500 lb-aft, with a 370 HP variant available with the W30 option. The revised body style and increased performance resulted in the 442 being awarded pace car duties at the Indianapolis 500 race in 1970. Motor Trend praised the 442, stating that it's probably the most identifiable supercar in the GM house. Those seeking to experience the ultimate in performance from Lansing could order a W machine version of the 442, dubbed the W30 package. The 442 W30 added a fiberglass hood with functional air scoops and low-restriction air cleaner, aluminum intake manifold, special camshaft, cylinder heads, distributor, and carburetor. 2 W30-equipped 442 Vista Cruisers were produced by special order. Rear shoulder seat belts were optional at $23. Motor Trend tested a 442 W30 with a 4-speed manual transmission and 3.911 rear gears, clocking a quarter-mile time of 14.2 seconds at 102 mph. However, Motor Trend noted that Oldsmobile engineers had earlier posted a best of 13.7 seconds on the same test car with a fresh tune. New options for the 1970 442 included GM's variable ratio power steering, a console-mounted Hurst dual-gate shifter for use with the turbo-hydromatic transmission, and aluminum differential housing and cover. All Oldsmobile V8s received new positive valve rotators for 1970s to increase engine valve life. 1970 model year spotting tips: vertical bars in silver grille, rectangular parking lights in front bumper, vertical tail lights. A 1970 Oldsmobile 442 was featured in the chase scene of the movie Demolition Man starring Sylvester Stallone. 1971. Despite storm clouds on the muscle car horizon, the 442 returned in 1971 with only minor modifications from the previous year. Engine output was down for 1971 due to a lower compression ratio, which affected all of GM's engines as a result of a corporate policy requiring engines to run on lower-octane regular leaded, low-lead, or unleaded gasoline, in preparation for the introduction of the catalytic converter on 1975 model cars. The base 455 was rated at 340 HP, with the W30 achieving a rating of 350 HP. The W27 option was downgraded to an aluminum cover for the cast-iron differential housing. The 1971 442 was available in a hardtop coupe and convertible body type. The Sport Coupe disappeared for the first time since 1964, only to return in 1972. Quarter-mile performance as reported by Road Test magazine was 15.2 seconds at 99 mph, and 0 in 8.9 seconds, using the TH400 automatic transmission. 1971 model year spotting tips: black grille with silver surround, silver headlight bezels, round parking lights in front bumper, horizontal tail lights. 1972. By 1972, the muscle car era was unmistakably in decline due to the twin blows of rising insurance rates and soaring gas prices. The 442 name reverted to an appearance and handling option package in 1972 on the Cutlass Holiday Coupe, Cutlass Sport Coupe and Holiday Coupe, and Cutlass Supreme Convertible. The W29 option was not available on Cutlass Supreme notchback hardtops. The 442 option package, which carried a modest sticker price of $29, consisted of the FE2 suspension upgrades, side striping, fender and deck lid badging, forks hood louvers, and a unique grille. The rear bumpers sported cutouts for exhaust tips, but only when paired with the optional L75 455 as CID V8 in place of the standard Oldsmobile 350 V8. Interior trims differed on each body style for which the 442 option was offered, much like the early 1964 Euro 66 models. For the base Cutlass hardtop coupe, a baseline 2-spoke steering wheel, and vinyl or cloth vinyl bench seat was standard along with rubber floor mats. Cutlass Sport Coupe and Holiday hardtop coupe featured full carpeting, deluxe steering wheel, courtesy lighting, and bench seats with cloth and vinyl or all-vinyl upholstery or optional strato bucket seats. And the Cutlass Supreme Convertible came with more wood grain interior accents than the S, along with an all-vinyl notchback bench seat with armrest or no-cost strato bucket seats, between which a center console was an extra cost option. An AM/FM stereo radio with a tape player was $363. 442s could still be ordered with the additional W30 option, which included the still potent L77 455 engine, which produced 300 HP and 410 lb-ft of torque and incorporated low-restriction dual exhausts. Other notable components of the W30 package included a lightweight aluminum intake manifold, the W25 fiberglass ram air hood, anti-spin differential with 3.421 gears, and heavy-duty cooling. Due to the low vacuum at idle, air conditioning was not available, and power brakes were only available with an automatic transmission. Only 113 W30 convertibles and 659 W30 coupes were made in 1972, making this a very rare option. A special edition Hurst Olds paced the Indy in 1972. The HO Coupe was based on the notchback Cutlass Supreme Holiday Coupe and the Cutlass Supreme Convertible, both of which came standard with a 270 net horsepower 455 rocket 4-barrel V8 or optional 300 net horsepower W30 option 455. Both HO engines were mated to turbo 400 transmissions with console-mounted Hurst dual-gate shifters. A HO Vista Cruiser was provided for the medical director. 1972 model year spotting tips: silver grille with black surround, black headlight bezels, round parking lights in front bumper, 3-section horizontal tail lights. 1973, originally expected to debut for the 1972 model year, the introduction of the new Colonnade body style was delayed until 1973 due to an auto workers' strike in 1972. The body was redesigned to feature massive 5-foot-long doors and energy-absorbing bumpers. The rear windows were fixed and the roof was reinforced in anticipation of rollover standards being imposed by the government. These cars were a few hundred pounds heavier and slightly larger than the 1972s. Consistent with 1972, the 4-4-2 option remained a handling and appearance package, code W29, and was available on the Cutlass and Cutlass S. It consisted of a faux louvered hood, FE2 suspension, specific grilles, emblems and stripes. Items such as dual exhaust and super stock wheels had to be ordered à la carte. This was all part of the industry-wide weaning of U.S. consumers from large, powerful cars. The W30 in 1972 had become a trim package. The L77 V-Code 455 was there, but only with the 4-speed wide ratio M20 transmission. 1973 was also the last year of the 4-speed manual transmission in the Olds A body. The L77 V-Code produced 270 net HP, the L75 U-Code 455 AT produced 250 HP, while the K-Code 350 single exhaust produced 180 HP and the M-Code 350 with duals produced 200 HP. Posi traction rear ends, axle ratios, gauges, super stock wheels, HD cooling and many sport-type options were available, but had to be ordered. The L77 V-Code engine was also available in the Hurst Olds without AC, code W46, the W45 L75 U-Code was standard with AC. Both 455s used the turbo-hydromatic 400 transmission, while the 350 was mated to the turbo 350. Interior trims for the 73 442 included a cloth vinyl or all-vinyl bench seat and rubber floor covering on base Cutlass Coupe, while Cutlass S included full carpeting on floor and lower door panels, wood grain trim, deluxe steering wheel and more luxurious cloth and vinyl or all-vinyl bench seat, or optional swiveling strato bucket seats with vinyl trim that could be rotated 90 degrees for easy exit entry. Center console with floor shifter was optional with either the 4-speed manual or turbo-hydromatic transmissions. 1974. The 1974 442 received the same facelift as other Cutlasses that year, including a revised grille and new flush tail lights over a newly mandated 5 mph rear bumper to match the similarly mandated front bumper introduced in 73. It remained a handling and appearance package available on both base Cutlass and Cutlass S Colonnade coupes. Engine offerings included the standard 180 horsepower Rocket 354-barrel V8 or optional 230 horsepower Rocket 455, which reintroduced the W30 code that signified the top 442 engine option package from 1966 to 1972. Power steering and turbo-hydromatic transmission became standard equipment on 442 and all other Cutlass models. The 4-speed manual transmission with Hurst shifter was dropped from the option list. New option for 1974 were GM specification radial tires. Interiors were similar to 1973 with cloth and vinyl or all-vinyl bench seats standard, or optional swiveling strato bucket seats with Marotian vinyl upholstery. Center console with floor shifter optional with bucket seats. 1975. The 1975 442 received revised vertical bar grilles and continued with vertically stacked tail light lenses. It was once again a handling appearance package on base Cutlass and Cutlass S coupes with content similar to previous years. Radial tires were now standard equipment, along with a high-energy electronic ignition. All engines were mated to catalytic converters, which required use of unleaded gasoline and spelled the end of true dual exhausts. With economy now a selling point following the 1973 Euro 74 energy crisis resulting from the Arab oil embargo, the 75-442 and most other Cutlass models no longer included a V8 engine as standard equipment. For the first time since its 1964 introduction, the 442 came standard with a six-cylinder engine, Chevrolet's 250 cubic inch inline unit, which had previously been offered on some Olds intermediates from 1966 to 1971, and the compact Olds Omega since its 1973 introduction. Also new this year was a small Olds-built 260 cubic inch rocket V8 specifically designed for fuel economy. The 170 horsepower 350 rocket V8 was now an extra cost option along with the 190 horsepower 455 V8. A 3-speed manual transmission was reinstated as standard equipment with the 6-cylinder engine with the turbo-hydromatic transmission optional with that engine and the only transmission offered with the V8 engines. Interiors again consisted of bench seats with cloth and Marotian vinyl or all Marotian trim, or optional swiveling strato buckets upholstered in Marotian vinyl. Revised door panels featured pull straps. Console optional with bucket seats. Due to SA net horsepower ratings, it appeared that there was a power drop from earlier engines, but this is not the case. The Oldsmobile 455 also had significant torque at lower PM. For 1975 the 442 equipped with the 455 was rated by Oldsmobile at 190 HP at 3400 RPMs and 350 lb-ft at 2000 RPMs. 1976, the 1976 442 shared a new aerodynamic slope nose designed for NASCAR with split grills and new quad rectangular headlights with Cutlass S models, along with revised lower sheet metal with fewer creases than the 1973 Euro 75 models. The 442 option was offered on Cutlass S coupes and was once again an appearance handling package. Engine transmission offerings were unchanged from 1975 except that the 260 V8 could be ordered with a 5-speed manual transmission. This was also the final year for the 455 Rocket V8. Interiors again consisted of bench seats with cloth and Marotian vinyl or all Marotian trim, or optional swiveling strato buckets upholstered in Marotian vinyl. Console optional with bucket seats. 1977, final year for the 1973 vintage colonnade body. The 442 was the only Olds intermediate to feature the NASCAR slope nose from the 76 model, as this year's Cutlass S switched to an upright nose similar to Cutlass Supreme models. Engine offerings were revised with Buick's 231 cubic inch V6 replacing the Chevy 250 inline-6 as base power, with optional power plants again including the Oldsmobile-built 260 and 350 cubic inch Rocket V8s. Replacing the 455 as the top engine this year was a new Olds 403 cubic inch Rocket V8 rated at 180 horsepower. Transmission offerings included a 3-speed manual or turbo-hydromatic with a V6, 5-speed manual or turbo-hydromatic for the 260 V8 and turbo-hydromatic was the sole offering for the 350 and 403 V8s. Interiors included a standard bench seat with cloth and vinyl or all vinyl bench seat, or optional strato bucket seats with all vinyl upholstery and without the swiveling feature of previous years. Console again optional with bucket seats. 1978, another limited edition 442 model was offered from 1978 through 1980 on the downsized A-body Cutlass introduced for the 1978 model year. Engines varied from a base 3.8L V6 to a 307 4-barrels. There was no 350 available to any 4-4-2 offered in 1978 or 1979. Oldsmobile 350 a CID V8. A special edition Hurst Olds was also offered in 1979. The 1978 Euro 9 version of the 442 was an option package on the semi-fastback Aeroback Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon, which was the lower trim version of the best-selling Cutlass model range. It was offered with all powertrains available, including the 231 CID, 2 VV6, the 260 CID, 2 VV8, and 305 CID, 2 V or 4 VV8S. Transmissions offered were 3 SPD automatic with all engines, 5 SPD manual with the 260 V8 and a 4 SPD Saginaw manual with the 305 V8. Distinctive trim elements included contrasting striping along the rocker panels and lower doors, over both wheel wells, badging on the rear trunk, and interior emblems. All other options offered on the Cutlass Salon were available with a 442 option package. 1979, the 1979 442 is based on the Cutlass Salon body style. The Hurst Olds HO was offered again and was the only GM intermediate to have a 350 SI engine. 1980, the 442 model moved to the notchback Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais to return to its roots as a performance car as it had a larger 350 V8 engine not available on other Cutlass models. It included W30 badging on the front fenders above the side marker lights, with less dramatic graphics. Otherwise, the cars shared identical powertrain, minus the Hurst shifter, with the 79 HO. Also available only in gold over white or gold over black paint, a total of 886 were built, 540 in black, and 346 in white. The MSRP of a Cutlass Calais in 1980 was $6,919.57. Option W34-4-2 appearance and handling package cost $1,255.12. This package consisted of gold accent paint scheme, painted grille face, applique pillar molding, aluminum sport wheels, W30 decals on front fender, tail lamp bezel and rear window molding to match body color, 442 emblem on sail panel and deck lid, engine 5.7-liter V8, 4-barrel, sport console, rally suspension package, tires P205/70 of 14 steel-belted radial ply black or with raised white letters and digital clock. The W34-4-2 option was not available in California. A sample of included options: interior color, camel tan with both fabric and or vinyl, as well as white vinyl, black could be ordered for black gold cars, custom steering wheel, tilt column, gauge cluster, AM/FM 8-track radio, cruise control, delay windshield wipers, Tempmatic air conditioning, dual remote mirrors, 442 door panel emblems, rear window defogger, 6-way power left bucket seat. The 350, Banner, engine code tag AR, 3A heads, 4-barrel M4MC Rochester carb, 8.51 compression, 170 HP at 3800 and 275 torque at 2000. Turbo Hydromatic 350 transmission. Code AB non-locking 2.73 rear axle. A cross-flow muffler gives a factory dual exhaust appearance. The 442 option was not available 1981 Euro 1984, but the Hurst Olds returned for 1983 and 1984. 1985 Euro 1987. The 442 name was revived in 1985 on the rear-wheel drive G-body Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme due to the demise of Oldsmobile and Hurst's official collaboration on the Hurst Olds, but Oldsmobile wanted to continue to offer a performance-oriented Cutlass model to the public. The name was now defined as referring to the car's 4-speed 200R4 automatic transmission, 4-barrel carburetor, and 2 exhausts. This W42 model replaced the 1983 and 1984 Hurst Olds model and used the same 5.0 LLG8 V8. The shifter was mounted on the floor in a console between the front seats, and the upgraded F41 suspension package was included. 3,000 were produced in the first year, and all were sold quickly. 4,273 were produced for 1986, and 4,208 were made in 1987. All 1985 and 1986 442s used the already sporty Cutlass Salon model as their base platform. Due to cost concerns, for 1987 it was decided they would use the less expensive Cutlass Supreme model to base the 442 on. The package included a beefier drivetrain, 15x7 fully chrome-styled steel wheels with gold trim, manually inflated air shocks in the rear, special paint scheme and gold body stripe decal package, dual snorkel air cleaner with chrome lid, mandatory AC and door panel 442 emblems. With few exceptions, 442s could be ordered with much of the optional equipment found on other Cutlass models. The 1984 Hurst-Olds and 1985 Euro 87 442 were equipped with an 8.5 inches GM corporate differential and all were equipped with 3.731 ring and pinion final drive gears. Rather than using the weaker 7.5 inches rear differential found in the Monte Carlo SS, these models used the same stout unit found in the Buick Grand National. Interestingly enough, many 442s did not come with RPO G80. This was, in large part, due to dealer ordering packages that group popular options together for ease of ordering. Problem was, G80 was not part of a single one of those popular option packages, but could be added à la carte. For the most part, performance-savvy dealers and customers were the only ones opting for the limited slip. The 1983 Euro 84 Hurst-Olds and 1985 Euro 87 442s are distinguishable by there being a 9 as the engine code found in the 8th character of their vans. These were the only models to get the hotter van 9 307 cubic inch engine, and it was the only engine available. From 1983 Euro 1985, this engine was flat tappet valvetrain, and rated at 180 HP/240 lb-ft torque. In 1986, the 307 engine received a roller camshaft valvetrain and new swirl port heads to improve economy and low-end torque. HP dropped to 170, with torque climbing to 255 pounds-ft. The 1985 442 used an Ansco THM 200-4R transmission. Both 1986 and 1987 442 used the KZF code THM 200-4R. The KZF removed much of the shift harshness of the original as-coded transmissions, but was still firmer than the run-of-the-mill overdrive transmissions used in the rest of Oldsmobile's lineup. 1990 Euro 1991. The final use of the 442 name was on the Quad 442 front-wheel drive 1990 Euro 1991 Cutlass Calais. This model used a 2.3 LLGO quad 4-cylinder engine with 4 valves per cylinder and 2 camshafts. The engine was tuned with higher output camshafts which produced more top-end power at the expense of idle quality. It used a single exhaust with a dual-tipped muffler and produced 180 HP with a 5-speed manual transmission. This version of the 442 also played upon the W30 option code used in past versions of the 442, the exception being that this model used the option code W40. A low production, late 1991 model year version used the option code W41. The key differences of W41 package was a 190 HP engine with a different geared 5-speed transmission. This 442 model lasted just 2 years. Production totals: 1990 W40 equals 2629, 1991 W40 equals 1160, 1991 W41 equals 204. It is worth mentioning that inside GM literature referred to the 1992 and 1993 Oldsmobile Achiever SCX as a 442, but no GM press literature mentions anything to this effect. The 1992 Euro 1993 Achiever SCX used exactly the same W41 drivetrain as the very limited production 1991 442 W41. The 1993 Achiever SCX was the final production Oldsmobile vehicle that was affiliated with the 442 moniker. Engines: 1972 L32 350 a CID 2-barrel V8, in 1972, H or J in van, 1972 L34 350 a CID 4-barrel V8, in 1972, K in van. 1972 L34 350 a CID 4-barrel V8 WN10 dual exhaust, in 1972, M in van, 1972 W34 155 a CID 4-barrel V8, in 1972, X and van with TH400. And M20, 1972 L75 455 a CID 4-barrel V8, in 1972, U and van, 1972 L75 455 a CID 4-barrel V8, in 1972, V and van a Euro used 2.07 valves and W30 automatic camshaft, 1973 a Euro 1976 455 a CID V8, 1973 a Euro 1977, 1980 350 a CID V8, 1975 a Euro 1976, 250 CID inline 6, 1975 a Euro 1980 260 a CID V8, 1977 403 a CID V8 in 1977, 1977 a Euro 1979 231 a CID V6, 1978 a Euro 1979 305 CID V8, 1985 a Euro 1987 307 CID V8. Origin of the 442 name. A common misconception is that designation 442 referred to the displacement of the engine in cubic inches. The name 4-4-2 came from the attributes of the 1964 model, 1964, 4-barrel carburetor, 4 on the floor, 2, dual exhaust, 1965, 400 cubic inch displacement, 4-barrel carburetor, 2, dual exhaust, with the 4-4-2 moniker established. Later editions did not officially follow any adherence to features stemming from the numerals 4-4-2. 1965 was the last year Oldsmobile officially defined 442 designation. In the model's years after 1965, any connection between the 442 name and the features was just coincidental. 442 in song. In the Primus song Jerry was a race car driver. Jerry is mentioned as having driven a 442. Blondie had a song, Detroit 442. The band Drive-By Truckers mentions a 442 that is crashed by a young teen in the song Days of Graduation as the song goes into detail about the crash. Bruce Springsteen's alternate early version of Thunder Road, called Wings for Wheels, mentions a 442. Philadelphia band The Lilies mention an Oldsmobile 442 numerous times in the song Dimes Make Dollars on the album The Three-Way. Chris Knight's song My Old Cars says he just bought a 442 black as the ace of spades. The music video for Chicago's Stay the Night features a chase involving a 442. The band True Stories released a song called Oldsmobile 442 on their album. Anthrax released an album in 1995 titled Stomp 442. In the Meatman song from 1986, Turbo Rock, the singer mentions himself driving a rockin' 442 that is in possession of flames of blue. Tom Petty's Let Yourself Go mentions in lyrics I got a 442 sittin' in the sun. Well, it's been 10 years since she used to run, man, she was a beauty in '69. Karen Dollar mentions a 442 on Badnik rims in the song Capital. He also released a song titled 442 in October 2013 that features Lil Wayne and Birdman. Aaron Lewis mentions a 67 442 ragtop in his song Endless Summer, and drives a 68 442 in the video. References: ABCDEF Carcraft 1. 1991 PPA 52 a Euro 55A, ABCDEFGHIJKL Gunnell L, Joanne. Standard Catalogue of American Muscle Cars 1960 a Euro 1972. Krauss Publications. ISBN A0-89689-433-9 Directory Index, Oldsmobile/1965 Oldsmobile Album. oldcarbrochures.com. Retrieved June 1, 2012. Dusan Ristic Petrovic. File, 1965 Oldsmobile 4-4-2 folder/1965 Oldsmobile 4-4-2 folder 03. oldcarbrochures.com. Retrieved June 1, 2012. Hot Rod, 3/86, pages 54. ABCD Directory Index, Oldsmobile 1968 Oldsmobile Sports Brochure. oldcarbrochures.com. retrieved June 1, 2012. AB Oldsmobile 442 Musclercarclub.com Oldsmobile 4-4-2 and W Machines Restoration Guide, Sullivan, pages 99, 4-4-2A Sourcebook, Castile, pages 63, http www.powerfulcars.com Oldsmobile/1976 Cutlass 442 php P equals Imperial, Muscle Oldsmobiles. Thomas Bonsall, Bookman Publishing, 1985, pg 4, external links, Oldsmobile 442 at the Internet Movie Cars Database.